Welcome to Goosebumps. Hey guys, and welcome to chapters 19 and 20 of R.L. Stine's Slappy World, the first of the Goosebump, or the Slappy series. Now, it's important to pay close attention because, again, you do have a couple questions to answer at the end and some fill in the blanks to do at the end as well. Continue doing complete sentences and doing your best work. Otherwise, maybe we need to do more questions with more sentences. We'll keep them at 2 as long as you're writing those sentences. All right, let's get started with chapters 19 and 20. Ian turned and saw what his sister was screaming about. He uttered a sharp cry as his eyes focused on Abigail, floating on her side near the bottom of her goldfish tank. No one moved. It was as if they were paralyzed by shock. Then Molly let out another shrill scream, and leaped at Ian. "How dare you! How could you?" she wailed. She pounded his chest with both fists. "Ian, you creep! How could you drown Abigail?" "No, no way! Not me!" Ian screamed, but Molly was too furious to hear him. She shoved him backward, punching his chest with all her strength. "You creep! You creep! You ruined my doll!" Ian tried to tell her that he didn't do it, but the words caught in his throat. Molly shoved him again, and he lost his balance. He stumbled and fell backward, smashing against the fish tank. "Oh, no!" He felt it slide off the table before he could catch his balance and heard the crash of the tank on the floor, the shatter of glass. All 3 adults were shouting now. Molly, red-faced, had tears rolling down both cheeks. The drenched doll rolled out from the broken fish tank and lay face down in a puddle of water and jagged shards of glass. The 3 goldfish jerked and flopped on the floor, gasping their last breaths. Ian spun away from the table. His heart pounding, he lifted the doll off the floor and handed it to Molly. With a roar of fury, she swung it hard, aiming at his face. "Wait! Wait!" he cried, dancing away from her. "You're wrong, Molly. It wasn't me." Miss Barker knelt over the broken fish tank. "Step back, everybody. Don't cut yourselves on the glass." Ian's dad picked up the 3 fish and, holding them between his hands, rushed them to the kitchen to find some water for them to swim in. Vinny and Johnny stood with their dad across the room. All 3 of them stared at Ian. "You've got to listen to me," Ian cried. "I didn't do it." "Abigail didn't jump in," Molly shouted, holding the wet doll to her chest. "You're such a liar, Ian. Who else would do it?" Ian's mom was carefully lifting shards of glass off the floor and dropping them in her palm. "I'm very disappointed in you, Ian," she said. "Why were you so desperate to win? It's just a family contest." Ian balled his hands into tight fists. "Isn't anyone going to listen to me?" he said through gritted teeth. "I didn't put the doll in the fish tank. I swear I didn't." He pointed at his cousins across the room. "Why don't you ask them who did it?" Vinny and Johnny both started talking at once. "I was sitting in the living room with the ice pack on my head," Johnny said. "You saw me. I didn't move." "Don't try and blame me," Vinny said. "I was across from my brother the whole time." Mr. Barker returned, carrying the 3 goldfish in a big glass measuring cup filled with water. "Do you swear you didn't do it, Ian?" he asked. Ian raised his right hand. "I swear." "Dad, he's lying," Molly insisted. "Look at my doll. She's ruined forever." "I think I can dry her out," her dad replied. "I can probably get Abigail looking good again." "Do you believe me, Dad?" Ian asked. Mr. Barker frowned. "I don't know what to believe. The talent show is a disaster," Uncle Donnie said. He turned Johnny's face toward him to examine the bump on his forehead. It was still bright red. "I think we should go home and nurse your wounds." "Wait," Ian's mom said. "I think we should let Ian do his act." "Huh?" Ian's mouth dropped open. "Are you sure?" Ian had a heavy feeling in the pit of his stomach. He had a bad feeling about this. "Go ahead," Miss Barker urged. "I'll bet it's funny. You've been practicing all week. Go ahead, Ian. It will cheer us all up." Ian shrugged. "I'm not sure." "Ian should save his act for another time," Uncle Donnie said. "It's still early. Why not let him do it?" Miss Barker said. "End of the day on a happy note." Well, I'd like to see what he's worked up, Mr. Barker said. While everyone was still talking, Vinny strode over to the dining room table. Hey, why don't I get a turn with the dummy? He asked. I can be funny too. Vinny lifted Slappy off the table and started to push his hand up the opening in the dummy's back, but he stopped, and his face filled with a surprise. Whoa, he said. Look, the dummy's hands are wet. Ian dove across the room and yanked Slappy from Vinny's arms. Oh, wow, he murmured. The hands are wet. That's not going to fool anyone, Molly said, crossing her arms in front of her. So you dipped Slappy's hands in the fish tank. Big whoop! Are we really supposed to think that Slappy shoved my doll into the water? Ian stared at her. He didn't know how to answer. Molly wouldn't believe him, no matter what he said, and he knew he was telling the truth. He never touched her doll, and he never moved Slappy from the table. He studied Slappy's face. Was the dummy's grin a little wider than before? No. No way. Ian had to be imagining that. Ian, sit down and do your ventriloquist act for us, his dad said. Yes, let's get this evening over with, Uncle Donnie said, rolling his eyes. Give Ian a chance, Miss Barker scolded him. We didn't want to be unfair to him. Suddenly, Slappy woke up. Someone was unfair to you, Miss Barker. Why did they give you a face that could break mirrors? Ian's mom shook her head. Not funny, Ian. Hope you practice better jokes than that. Ian felt a chill at the back of his neck. I didn't say that awful joke. The dummy is speaking without me. He didn't want to continue. This was terrifying, but he was trapped. They were all watching him eagerly, even Vinny and Johnny. Ian sat down sideways on a dining room chair and propped up the dummy on his lap. Uncle Donnie squeezed between Ian's two cousins on the couch. Ian's parents shared a big armchair beside the couch. Molly remained standing with her arms tightly crossed, an angry expression locked on her face. Ian stuck his hand in the dummy's back and made the wooden lips click up and down. Did you make dinner tonight, Miss Barker? Slappy asked. I'm sorry, but I throw up better food than that. Ian, please, his mother said. Not so rude. You can be funny without being rude. But, Ian tried to explain, but Slappy cut him off. You want to see funny? Look in a mirror, Slappy rasped. The dummy turned to Molly. Good news, Molly, Slappy said. They're looking for someone to play a pig on Animal Planet. You don't even have to audition. You've got the part. Molly let out a disgruntled groan. Make Ian stop, Mom. Molly, here's a riddle. What's the difference between you and a dead, rotting bird on the sidewalk? Molly rolled her eyes. I don't know. I don't know either. Ian, your jokes aren't nice, his mom said. You know what's nice? Slappy demanded. When you leave a room and it starts to smell better. Miss Barker jumped to her feet. Ian, I'm warning you. I didn't say it, Ian stammered. Slappy said it. Uncle Donnie, is that really your face, or did someone barf all over your shoulders? The dummy rasped. Mr. Barker stood up and shook a finger at Ian. Enough barf jokes, he said. I mean it. If you can't do nicer jokes. Mr. Barker, the dummy interrupted. I don't want to say you stink, but you give diarrhea a bad name. That's enough. You're finished, Mr. Barker cried. Go to your room, Ian. Hey, Molly, know how to make yourself prettier? Stick your head in a Cuisinart and push start. Go to your room, Ian, Mr. Barker repeated, and take the dummy with you. Johnny and Vinny, you two guys look exactly like something I stepped in at the dog park. Mr. Barker took Ian firmly by the shoulder and guided him to the staircase. Go. You're in a lot of trouble, young man. We're going to have a long talk about this. You have to believe me, Dad, Ian stammered. Those aren't my jokes. I didn't say those things. Really, Ian, just go. His dad gave him a push up the stairs. Why won't anyone listen to me? Ian screamed. The dummy is alive! The dummy is saying those horrible jokes. Just go, Mr. Barker said, his cheeks reddening with anger. I'm not going to say it again. Ian sighed. With the dummy slung over his shoulder, he turned and began to trudge slowly up the stairs. To his horror, Slappy opened his mouth wide and giggled all the way up. And you better not be giggling at those jokes. You better be going in and answering those questions with complete sentences. And we'll see you tomorrow for chapters 21 and 22.